Good afternoon. This is KHEA Radio. It's 1:07 on a Friday. I got Grant with MittGroup in studio. Grant, how you doing today?
Doing amazing, man. Thanks for having me again.
I'm excited that you're here. You've been all over doing a lot of really cool things.
Yep.
What you got going on?
Man, just been traveling all over the place. So the solar company, we've expanded heavily into Dallas and Austin, and so we've just been going all throughout all those different spots and just working on growing the company and everything like that. We've been talking about crypto stuff too, so that's always fun. So we've been doing a little bit of that as well. And another like blockchain company that I told you about, that should be operational hopefully at the end of this week. So assuming nothing big, disasters or any problems or anything like that happens, but really just focusing on growing the solar company. So everything's going really good.
Solar company, yeah. So you mentioned Austin and Dallas. What's it looking like here in Houston?
Houston's big, man. So Houston has consistently been our biggest market. We got the biggest infrastructure set up here, so we're doing a tremendous amount of installs all across the Houston area. So, I mean, even some down here in Lamarck, Dickinson, and Galveston County area is just huge for us. So, really, really cool spot. I mean, obviously, fantastic people in Houston, and we pay super high utility bills, so people like to save money with solar, so it works out.
Compared to last year, it's the world has changed a lot, even from last year.
Right.
What's MittGroup looked like from last year to this year?
So, when we started the company, we were only in Houston. And so the biggest thing that we've done is we're trying to really just take over the entire Texas market. We want to be in every major Texas city so we can help as many people across Texas save a ton of money. The biggest thing is, just as a company, you start off originally and it's 3, 4, 5 motivated people that are just out there trying to make deals happen and try to grow a business. But as you grow and as you expand and as you bring on different people, and you can't just kind of wing things left and right and hope, good things happen. So the biggest thing that we've seen is the company, we're talking actually with some of my sales teams out in Austin. They're like, man, Grant, it's been the craziest thing to see the development of the company just from like my perspective. He was saying that one of our reps, Troy, and just the difference is just you implement all these systems, you have all this data, you have all these numbers, you have all these different things where now it's a system. And if you think about it, if you're in a quick, a V8 Camaro or a Ferrari or something super fast and you're like, oh man, I got it, my exit's right here, it's coming right there, you can shift 4 lanes immediately, really quickly, get over there, you make your exit, right? But if you're driving an 18-wheeler or if you're in a cruise ship compared to a speedboat, you got to operate a little bit different. Even if you know something is the right process to implement or it's the right thing to do, hiring the right people and making sure the processes are, just consistent and they can fit the mold of the company, because you can't just change directions left and right. You got to have things that work and they're consistent to help grow, so you can have the infrastructure so you can scale the company and so we can, obviously help some more people. So that's the biggest thing that we've implemented. It's exciting because now we're like really getting heavily into the Dallas and Austin markets. And as we expand out, throughout the state of Texas, the goal is to, continue to go further out of that. So yeah, it's getting there.
So a lot of people are moving into that Austin area.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're looking to, I guess when they move there, hey, I'm going to switch that to solar or make the change?
Yeah. So, Austin, if you think about it, we have, Texas alone, I don't know what the exact rankings are, but we got to be one of the top couple fastest growing states. But as far as like Austin goes, the growth's been crazy, tremendous. You got people from the West Coast, from all over the country, East Coast that are coming in here. So a lot of people who've had solar before, that's true. But I think it's just there's a lot of homeowners in Texas. There's a lot of people in Texas, they work hard, they're good people. They want to save money, they want to make smart investments. And so if you're buying a brand new home, if you're going to get solar 5 years from now or now, and you own the home the same amount of time, you might as well get it now. So I think that has something to do with it. But it's everywhere, man. Texas is just unbelievable what's happening with the growth and with all these people moving here. So it's super exciting.
What kind of savings can you get if you make that switch to solar?
So pretty much eliminate the second you install, your utility bill is going to go. It depends what system we size, but anywhere from, we have multiple people that send us bills that they're actually getting paid from the utility companies. So we have a couple homeowners down here in the Dickinson area, actually. They got literally -70, -80 bills where actual utility companies paying them. So, and basically what you do there is you just take the savings that you're getting. It would cover the solar payment, which is $150, which would be less than what you're paying the utility company. But what people are doing is they're paying these systems off in like 5 to 6 years, 7 years. Now they don't have a utility bill or a solar payment. So they're done. So if you look at over a course of 20, 30 years, people are saving like 30 to 50 grand on the power for their home because they purchase their power and they own it with solar. So it's basically, if you really look at it, if you're going to be in a house 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to spend money to the utility company no matter who you are, no matter what. And it doesn't matter, right? You have to do it. So people are just taking the savings, they're using it, applying it towards solar, and it's helping people save a lot of money. So tens of thousands of bucks, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit of crypto, and then I want to go back on your story a little bit and then see where it goes.
Yeah.
But with crypto, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm invested in some crypto stuff.
Right.
I know you're invested in some crypto. What have you been seeing?
So, okay, so there's been a cycle. So if you look at cryptocurrency right now, what happens is first is Bitcoin, and this goes in a cycle. The same thing happened when Bitcoin went crazy to like 17 or 18,000 back in 2017. So it goes in a cycle. So it starts off where Bitcoin's like the main one. Then what happens is the market slowly shifts into other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, Litecoin, things. Litecoin's kind of, fizzled out, but Ethereum's been huge, and that's been a massive growth. And then the next part of the cycle is altcoins, which are the small no-namer coins that really don't have any real intrinsic value, but they go absolutely berserk. And so what happens is, Bitcoin goes to some unbelievable level, which it has, it goes 50, 60,000. Now it's dropped a lot for another reason I'll explain in a second. But what happens is people start taking their money out of Bitcoin, they put in Ethereum, and they start taking their money out of there and they start putting it into these small coins because they're trying to make a quick buck. And so it's a natural cycle that keeps going. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the third and fourth quarter of this year. We'll really get to see if we're going to go through another massive bear market, which I think is definitely possible. I would be more surprised if that didn't happen. But the one thing that I can say is it's changed, because if you look back 2 to 3 years ago, you had Mark Cuban, you had all these major guys that would say, I would rather buy a banana than a Bitcoin. Like, this thing's never going to do anything. This is stupid, blah, blah, blah. And what happened is they obviously were wrong, and now they're all in it. They have skin in the game. There's things called NFTs now. There's different things that people are realizing, well, you know what? This does make sense. The government's not as in control of all of my, assets and finances and stuff as much compared to fiat currency. And if you're looking at a fiat currency, meaning like a US dollar, a peso, a yen, or any of those dollars, the problem is they just continue to print more and more and more and more and more of that currency. So what's happening is our US dollar, if I have it sitting in the bank, I'm just losing money every single year because they're continuing to print more. Why is a Ferrari or a Lamborghini worth a lot? Well, because there's only 5, 6, 7, 800 of them, right? But if they made 50,000 Ferraris, a Ferrari wouldn't be $500,000, it would be 30, 40 grand. And it's the same thing with the United States dollar. Bitcoin is an equivalent of gold because there's a limited supply that's slowly getting mined over time. So the asset is naturally appreciating. So that's the biggest thing, and that's why, digital currency is great. And if you think about it, I try to go, I was trying to invest in some of these altcoins, and I was trying to mess around with it. And I literally, I have my debit card, I go to Coinbase, and I'm like, I try to buy $5,000 worth of Ethereum because I had to transfer it over to this long process, right?
Yeah.
It keeps declining my card. I'm like, I have more than $5,000 on my checking account. I call Chase. Chase goes, hey, so sorry, you have a limit. We have a limit on your checking account. You can't even spend over $3,500. And I'm like, dude, are you serious? You know what I mean? So then I got to wire to Coinbase. I got to do this. I got to go through 4 or 5 different steps just to send not $1 million. You know what I mean? It's not like it's some crazy number. I mean, $3,500 is a decent amount of money, but it's just, that's the point of why crypto is powerful, is I could send money from here to Shanghai, China in literally a second. And I didn't have to talk to Chase. I didn't talk to anybody. Boom, the money's wired directly to that point, and it has and holds value. So that's the viability of it, and that's why I think it's going to be a good thing. But if you think about it, what happened is, when I go back to my point about all these big guys are now in it, now when you have major companies and Wall Street involved, what happens is it kind of gets too big to fail. So now they really don't have any choice other than to get into it. And that's why the second you get Wall Street, the second you get JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all those guys, which they are starting to get into crypto, that's when I think this thing's here to stay. Anything can happen. The only thing that scares me with it is if, government's got involved. I think they're accepting it, but I think the SEC and taxes and all that stuff they're going to go after people with crypto big time. But in some form, I think that's a good sign in some way too, because that means they see some value in it and they know it's probably going to be around. So it's interesting. It's really interesting stuff.
That would mean it's here to stay. Like they're trying to, hey, these are the rules, the tax game, how it applies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So last night I was trying to buy this random crypto on, I think it's MetalPay. I know one of my buddies put me on. It's just another a wallet, and you can buy and pay.
Is it MetaMask?
This one's just straight up MetalPay.
Okay.
I don't know Metal.
There's a ton of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And he had got me onto a coin. Hey, just check this out. So I did. So I was trying to buy this other one, and it was like, I'm gonna put $50 in here because I can get like 6,000 coins. It's like 0.009 whatever, and if it even goes up a little bit, it'd be cool.
Right.
So, and it said it went through. And then I got an email saying it went through. Hey, you're funded. Okay, it's in your wallet. And then like later I went on the app. It said, hey, you declined your thing. And I was like, no, I didn't. I'm just wondering, like, is it my bank side? Is it the app side? Is that like, I don't even know who canceled it? It wasn't me.
The altcoins, these small, I just learned this part. And I'm not, by altcoins, I don't mean like Dogecoin. Like Dogecoin's easy to buy, but I'm talking about these random ones. Yeah. Like I bought something literally called Yummy. I bought like literally. And I put like $1,000 in, and it turned into something crazy, like 20-30 grand. Like I was like, what the heck? So I mean, with stuff like that, it was so complicated to learn. I mean, there's probably tons of stuff on YouTube and stuff like that to tell you.
Yeah,
I'd have to look at it, but it's tricky. The one thing that you got to do is like, for example, I have Trust Wallet, and it's connected to something called Pancake Swap, which sounds as crazy. It's like at first, and this is what's messed up about it. It's called Pancake Swap, and they have all these different like small altcoins that are super small and no one's ever heard about. And it was crazy because everyone always reaches out to me and asks about crypto or investments or something. And literally my assistant texted me, and she's like, hey, Grant, my mom wants to know if you've heard of something called Pancake Swap. And I was like, Pancake? She said, yeah, it's a cryptocurrency. It's supposed to do really good. This is back in February. And I'm like, what the heck is I'm like, what is she saying? So I go online, I look, and it was like down 20%. I've never heard of it. I'm like, yeah, Miranda, I don't know. I wouldn't invest in something called Pancake Swap, so it's probably not anything good. Dumbest thing I've ever said in my life. So if I would have put like literally $500 in the day that she told me, literally in a month, I would have had like $5 or $10 million, like something just crazy, just even like $50, something. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then I actually started making a lot of friends with a lot of people that were in crypto, and you got these young guys, man. They're 20, 30 years old, that are making millions and millions of dollars, and it's crazy.
It's like it's a gamble. I mean, whenever you invest that, it is kind of like a gamble. Say it's worth, I'll throw $100, $50 in there, and if it does anything, you can cash in pretty big.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to stuff like that, with these type of deals, is like, to me, it's like bet what you're willing to lose. And like, for example, I was talking to one of my friends from high school a couple 2-3 weeks ago, and he was asking about this, and I was like, look, if you're investing in general to make rent or because you need to make money, you've already lost. I mean, you might as well just go to the craps table. I mean, maybe even that would be better, because it's a horrible place to invest from. And what happens is, I mean, like I said, when anything that like these random coins, like you're talking about, you're like, man, I'm gonna throw $100, I'm gonna throw $50 in there. That's exactly how you need to do it. Because my thought is, look, like I allocate a certain amount of money. I was like, I'm only gonna invest in dumb things that I see. Like for example, and I made a rule because after my assistant sent me that, and then it happened one more time with another scenario, and I was like, it'll never happen again. And I have a rule, if someone texts me and goes, hey, Grant, what do you think about this? I literally put some type of money. I don't care if it's $100, $500, $1,000, couple thousand. I have to invest in it, because I'm like, whatever, like I said, whatever you're cool losing. Hey, look, if I would have done it in February, I would have had a couple extra million just sitting there for fun. Like that's crazy. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Okay, so there's been a couple people that have asked about like learning? Like,
Right.
what are some good resources for people if they don't have any insight on crypto? And then someone else was asking, is it kind of like the Federal Reserve? I think they're talking about mining the crypto and having something backed up. I'm not sure, but what would be a good place for people to go and learn?
Okay, so first question's how to learn. The second is what do they mean by for like?
They kind of compared it, I guess, to the Federal Reserve. I think just saying that it's backed up
I
by
think,
something.
Yeah. So the Federal Reserve, so the U.S. dollar used to be backed by gold. Okay, so that means it held value. I think it was in the 60s. I want to say 1968 or might have been 1965, but it was Richard Nixon took the U.S. dollar off the gold standard. That's the second the U.S. dollar lost its true value. So all of our parents growing up, my parents, probably everyone that listened to, and maybe anybody that's a generation older than me or whatever the case may be, we were taught save money, leave your money in the banks. And they were right back then because the bank used to pay unbelievable amount of interest. So if I had $10,000 sitting there and I let it sit for 10 years, all of a sudden it would turn into 30, 40, 50 grand or whatever the case may be. Now the interest rates, if you go to JP Morgan, I mean, it's like 0.01%. I don't even know. It's something so small that it doesn't even matter. The problem is, to answer that, I think what their question is if you think about it, I think it's like 25 to 30% of the U.S. dollars ever created in the history of time were created in 2020.
Wow.
Think about that.
That's new money. Yeah.
That's the biggest scam in history because $100 meal, you just devalued the heck out of it. And the problem is, and they've been saying inflation's coming. And when I saw them just printing this, hey, another $2 trillion, hey, another this, another that, I saw it coming. And literally, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, they released that, inflation was as high as I think it was 4 or 5%, which is ridiculous. And they always undershoot it because home prices across the United States have gone up 11% just this year. In Austin, they've gone up. You can't buy a house unless you pay 20 to 30% above market value. On site, cash, not mortgage, not funding. No, I don't care if you got an 800 credit score. 25% over market value cash today, and you got a line of 10 other people behind you that will do it too. It's crazy. So they're killing the money. So if you just hold $100,000 in the bank, you're losing at least 5% on your money. I think right now it's even way higher. So the best thing I always say is a bad investment is better than a smart spend, right? Like a bad investment is better than a smart spend. Because, yeah, you were going to go on a vacation, you got a really good deal. You don't get that $2,000 back. You spent $2,000. No, I'm not saying don't take a vacation, but what I'm saying is you buy a pair of shoes or whatever, yeah, you got a good deal, whatever. The money disappears completely. So to follow up on the other question about how do you get good at this, the difference is if you go back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, really all I would say up to like as late as the 80s, I would say, the only difference between the top 1% and the rest of the world has zero to do with intelligence. All it has to do with is information. So information is the key to everything. There's nobody that's smarter than me, that's smarter than anybody else. Everything created around us was created by people no smarter than us. And so if you think about it, the only thing that maybe a 1% or those people back in the day had over the common man was they knew what to do. They had the information, right? So the biggest thing with that is you have to start thinking, this phone in front of me right now, the iPad, the computer, your phone, has everything that you could ever need to learn what you need to learn to be successful. Not Texas A&M, and I got love for Texas A&M. Not U of H, I got love for U of H. Not UT. Maybe your parents have some good information, maybe some friends, but the phone sitting in front of your hand or in your pocket can get you anything you want in life because every ounce of information is on the internet. The internet has changed the game, and you can see that the big hedge funds and Wall Street is freaking out because we saw this with the GameStop thing and all those different things and how whatever the heck happened with Robinhood and they blocked people from trading. It's because the big guy was about to get screwed because all the little guys teamed up together. It was like, you know what? Screw you guys. It's time that we win. And look what happened. Well, not because they got smarter, not because anything. They were the same intelligence, but what happened is they finally had the same access to the information as people in hedge funds and people with the big money. Now, they do have the big money, which can control it. But what we're seeing with crypto is, and renewables we're going to see over the next 100 years, is those two spaces and a couple others is going to be the biggest transfer of wealth in human history. And I mean, it's hard to fathom. And I have tons of family members that are in oil and gas, and I got nothing but love for oil and gas companies and everything. But it's hard to fathom that I think it was in 2010 or the early 2000s that ExxonMobil was a top 5 company in the entire world, and now they are out of the S&P 500. It is hard to fathom. Lamborghini just announced that they're going to go all electric in the next 20 years. F-150s just made an all-electric vehicle.
Saw that, the Lightning?
Yeah.
F-150 Lightning.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's hard to like process, but things are changing really fast. And my point is about your phone is like, people go, hey, Grant, how do I do this? How do I do this? Blah, blah, blah. I have messed up more than anybody combined, and that's what helps me. You know what I'm saying? I'm willing to lose. I don't care. You see what I'm saying? Like what happens is you get punched enough, you kind of start figuring it out. You know what I'm saying? So you get on YouTube. Heck, even TikTok has good resources. But like you hop on YouTube and you're like, what's the best altcoins to invest? How do I invest on this? What do I do in this? Explain Bitcoin. Explain this. Explain that. I don't care where you went to school, how smart your teachers told you. They're all wrong anyways. Look online and study what free information. It doesn't matter how smart you are. Your brain's a computer. If you process enough information, if I'm not meant to be a good piano player and I play piano and practice it for 8 hours a day for a year, am I eventually going to get pretty damn good?
Yes, you're going to get very good.
Yeah, and Gardy's going to be like, damn, Grant's pretty good at piano, even though I'm not even meant to be a piano player. Same thing goes for anything in life. So, you know, and I see this too with our company, and we bring in these different people in sales, and sometimes my favorite person to bring in is someone who's never been in a sales company before because they're fresh and they don't have just bad habits and different things like that. We can groom them on how we want them to think and operate, and then they're humble and willing to learn, so they end up being the best. So the resources are there. So first, if you don't know something, man, hop on Google, hop on YouTube. If you don't agree with what that person says, amazing. Go look at another person saying, or disagree and test your ideas out. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, amazing. You may be right, and you probably are. It doesn't matter. Everyone has an opinion, a voice, but it's your duty to go out and test it. Just if I go, man, this coin's going to be great, you need to go immediately go research and figure out and go, you know what, that Grant guy might be right. Or you know what, I disagree with him. I like this coin and this one and this one and this one in this industry, and you may be right. I may not be right. Absolutely. I don't care if I'm right. I just want it to work.
Well, even if you're not right all the time, if you get right on the right one and you end up
exactly,
that's all you need is just the one that works. And that's why you're not passing up those investment opportunities.
Yeah, that's why I learned my lesson. It's like someone told me, it's like, man, you just keep getting lucky with this and this and this. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, there's no such thing. Look, I took money out of my bank account, studied it, followed all these people, figured out a plan, and put money in. It was one of those. There is no luck about that. Mm-hmm. I'm putting myself in an opportunity to, if something hits, that's awesome. You see what I mean? Nothing happens by accident, and I'm completely cool losing everything. It is what it is. So you got to be smart with what you're doing. And then the most important step is, like I said, go do your research. Go practice your own ideas. Agree or disagree with whoever you're listening to. But most important, you have to actually get in the game. Like I tell people, and I probably can't say this much longer, but like go lose some money. And what I mean by that is like, who cares if you lose 10, 15, 20%? Man, look, if you got to put $50 in, if you got to put $10 in, do $10. It's cool because you're going to learn how to do something and you won't know the value of what you're doing and you won't truly get good at something until it's your money or it's your livelihood. You know, like our sales reps we talk about all the time, you could say this, that, and the other, but until you're a sales rep that, man, you didn't set the appointment properly, and now you just drove an hour and a half to an appointment and got no-showed. Now you're like, you know what? I should have listened to my manager. he did this way and this way, I wouldn't have wasted 10, 15, 20 bucks of gas, much less my time and everything like that. So you got to make the investment and figure it out, and you start to get good at things. And if you realize it's not for you, perfect. Now you just got another tool that can help you with something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So here's a comment. This is from ET Lockouts. He said that KHEA radio, that's where they come for their resources.
Right.
Which I love. You can come to KHEA for all your resources.
Right.
And then they wanted to know what your thoughts are on precious metals, like investing in any of those.
So I'm not well versed like I should be on that stuff, but I think I've heard like that's probably actually a really, really good investment. Actually, one of the smartest guys I know, he went to Harvard, and his guy's a beast investor. And apparently back in when everything was crashing or something like that, he bought a ton of like copper or something like that and made tremendous returns. I think anything with like you're seeing with like the prices of lumber. Have y'all seen the prices of wood? Like
Yeah, it's crazy.
like hard to fathom. Like I don't know the exact metrics and everything, but it would be like $500 to $5,000 now, like something just astronomical. And I could see the same thing happening with metals. I mean, even like right now in Austin, it's growing so fast and all these buildings. The problem isn't can you get the capital for it? Can you get the permits is tough, but this, that, and the other. But there's so much money that's influx in Austin. That's not the problem. The problem is you need the materials and you need the people. The problem is they're building so much and there's only so much material that's becoming an issue, especially when half the country was turned off for almost a year due to COVID. So it's an interesting thing. My best answer I could tell to them with anything like that is like, what's your target ROI and what's your investment risk? Everyone, for me, short term, I'm a little bit more aggressive right now, but I will slowly moderate my investment strategy as you get bigger because, if you only got $1,000, you can be a heck of a lot more risky because you can go make $500 pretty quick. But like, for example, Warren Buffett, he has, I think, $100 billion worth of Apple stock. So if Apple stock moves 1% up or 1% down, it's $1 billion swing. Like I talk about with the 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I always say, I can't wait for the day when I can lose $1 million in a day. That's going to be an exciting day for me because what would my green day be? You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And so you got to think like that. Like my losses get bigger, but my wins also get bigger. So whoever asked that question, I mean, I think it's a good, I can't say it's a bad investment at all. It just depends where you're at. Now, if you're in an industry that supports that, absolutely, you should be doing that.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what their target is.
So they left this comment, said silver's the main conductor in electric vehicle, and he said the prices, his thoughts are will rocket in the future.
I believe it. I believe it. I mean, hey, if he knows, it sounds like I said, I'm not an expert on that. But if like that's where I say like just that conversation is gonna spark maybe someone else may do that, or maybe I'm like, man, damn,
go look into it. Yeah.
This guy's right. Like I need to go buy this. But that's my point is like, yeah, I think that's definitely a viable investment. You know what I mean? And I think something like that, I wouldn't put a majority of my money in, but I mean, hey, if he wants to put 15-20% of his money allocated into something that he knows and is confident and he knows about, hell yeah, you should invest in it.
What about long-term investing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking at? How do you do that? Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, that's not my main focus. It will be eventually. Long-term, my investment is myself right now, if I'm just being honest. You know what I mean? Now, if I'm 40, 50 years old and, I'm getting ready for retirement and different things like that, I'm investing in companies that I absolutely believe in, that like I would go work for tomorrow. Like that's the type of companies. And I think, industries that are shifting over the next, decade to 2 decades that are inevitable that are going to win. You know what I mean? You're seeing retail slowly die right in front of us. Oil and gas, there will be a place in the economy. Absolutely. We need oil and gas for sure. But the electric vehicle thing, whether you like it or not, it's happening. It's 3 years ago, we were having a conversation if Tesla was going to become bankrupt. And now Ford Motor Company just made an F-150 that's electric. That's hard to fathom in my mind. So, companies that you believe in long term that, that you're not watching the market every single day, but you believe in and trust. And I think the most saying is whoever the CEO is tells you everything about the company, in my opinion. I think people need to start betting on the leadership team more than everything else. A team or a company's success, yes, the industry matters. Yes, the vehicle they're in, by what I mean, like the product or service that they're in, that's absolutely important. But let me tell you something. if you look at the best, Phil Jackson, for example, he's Phil Jackson. Like
Mhm.
whatever team that guy's coaching, I'm betting on that guy. You know what I mean? And after when Tesla was first doing it, and I studied Elon Musk and I read a couple of books about him, I was like, there's no way this guy is gonna fail, because he would live literally in his parents' basement and borrow money for rent and literally lose every penny and doesn't even care. That's how bad he wants to be. Like, literally, as a billionaire, he still sleeps in his factories and stuff because he's all over the place and he doesn't care. Like, that's a guy I'm going to bet on. And if I lose on that guy, well, hey, I mean, I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? So that's someone I want to be around. So just be smart. And if you're young, man, I mean, long-term investments are great. I mean, still invest in companies you believe in, but the best investment's yourself, man. Like, if you only make 50 grand right now, and which is fine. Like, I've been there. I've made 50 grand before. But, if that's what you're making right now, my thing is like, look, we can hop online and we can look at all these great investments. And I think it's something you should do. But I think most of your energy should be allocated to how do you develop more. Because if you can teach yourself how to make 200, 300, 400 or whatever more and impact and help more people, the returns of investing in yourself is just, you can't even calculate how much it is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, even Warren Buffett says the best thing he ever bought was, I think it was a Napoleon Hill or one of those things, or Dale Carnegie or something like that book, or it was like $20 cassette tape or something he invested in. And he said that's still the best investment I ever had, because Warren Buffett's been successful because he understands, one, compound interest. Two, he's disciplined and sticks to what he knows and he's disciplined at. And it's because he's well-versed. I mean, the guy reads 3, 4, 5 hours a day. So you're seeing him be successful because it's compound and because he did the right things and he invested in himself.
Can you share a little bit about your story, how you got to where you are and how I'm going to split this money, I'm going to invest this, here's what I'm going to do?
Yeah. Okay, so you're talking about like story as far as like the whole New York thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like long story short, basically what happened is I played college football in California and New York, and when I was out in California, I redshirted. I was in sales, I was hustling, trying to make money, all that good stuff. Took a scholarship in New York. I lived in the smallest, I mean, it's about probably half the size of this room right here, but I have like 3 big dudes. I play football, a big 6'8", 320-pound guy, big running back, whatever, which was cool. It was like whatever, but I was a super broke college kid and stressed out trying to figure out what to do next and everything. So basically what I did is I would just go sit in Barnes & Noble for like 2-3 hours and just read and study. And I was such a spaz, I can't sit still, and I'm ADD. So what I would do is I would just say, all right, let's just read 15 pages here, 15 pages there. And it would just slowly compound. And I noticed like 6-7 months would pass, and I noticed I just felt more creative. I was, people started treating me different. My coaches were like, man, like I remember my head coach, he offered me to become a quarterback coach for him. I'm following him, and now he's a coach at Tennessee. They started seeing something different in me, and I wish I could tell you guys, I was no, and definitely was not like that. I was just bettering myself, right? So I came back to Houston. I decided not to play D2 football or whatever. And I was like, all right, I'll just get my degree. U of H is smart. I know a lot of people in Houston. I can live with my mom, save money, invest, figure it out, and everything, right? I get back to, Houston.
Which is a great plan, by the way. I mean, that's like, it's a good plan. Yeah.
I think it's great. Like, anybody that's doing community college right now is a great decision because it's crazy affordable. Nobody ever, I mean, unless your parents are just loaded, and if they are, like, that's awesome. Like, that's great. I'm not knocking that, but should be spending $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year on school. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Unless you're sitting next to the Bush's kids and those kids at Harvard. Okay, like that for sure. I would pay if I had a kid, that's the only thing I would do. But other than that, no. I want the most affordable, decent name that's the entire time you're in college, you can be working and developing and trying things, because that's where you can mess up. When you get kids involved, you get spouses involved, things change. I've seen it. And I'm not saying change for the worse. I'm just saying it's a little bit, like I said, that the Ferrari becomes an 18-wheeler. Now you got multiple lives that you got to decide for. And so I came back to U of H, and I'm Ubering around Houston trying to make money. I'm sleeping on my mom's couch, like 22 years old, and I'm like, I gotta make money. I had this whole plan, this whole job fell through. That's a disaster. So that was one. I get to U of H on orientation. I walk into our counselors meeting, basically with like anybody that had like, so like there was like 5 counselors for the business school, and like MNOP or whatever, like that group of last names would report to one counselor that would help you pick classes and stuff like that. And they're doing roll call, and they said my name. I was like, hey, I'm here. And she goes, wait, what's your name? And I said, Grant. And she goes, oh, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, wait. I was like, what? And she's like, no, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, who is this lady and why does she know me? I'm like, she should not know who I am. Did I do something wrong to this lady I didn't know? And she comes up and she's like, hey, so Grant, look. And she looked like really stressed out. I'm like, why are you so stressed out? Like, I just got here. Like, I didn't do anything to you, right? And she's like, so you're a senior. And I'm like, right. Yeah, like my class is about to be a senior. She's like, but here you're a freshman. And I'm like, wait, what? She's like, you're a senior on paper. And I'm like, but at U of H, you're a freshman. None of your classes transferred besides 2. And I'm like, what? She's like, none of your and I'm like, wait, what? Are you serious? She's like, it's okay. I already talked to some people. You know, we can actually appeal some of them. We're going to have to combine multiple classes and appeal to the board. So if we do it perfect, you can maybe almost become in the second semester of your sophomore year. And I was like, I'm like 22 years old. I don't have time for that. She's like, well, you know, I think it's the best that you do this and do this and this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I leave and I pick all my classes. Stress as hell. I get back in my car and I start Ubering again because I need to make money, right? And so I'm Ubering around. I'm stressed. I'm like, dude, okay. So I just had this whole plan. I get accepted. They wait until I get in the door to tell me, hey, by the way, you got to like go to school here for another 3 years or 3.5 years or whatever. And I'm like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And I'm driving around and I'm like, solar. Solar was huge in California. Do they have solar companies here? Started applying for solar companies. And 2 weeks later, I got a job. And then it was off to the races. And all that knowledge and focus and stuff that I did when I was in New York studying and learning, I was ready to go. I just didn't have a vehicle. I was a NASCAR driver with no car. You know what I mean? And it's a scary position to be in. But I was like, I had nothing to lose. I was going to make it happen. I was already sleeping on my mom's couch. I was already 22 and now, again, a freshman in college. So I was like, this shouldn't, or I can't cuss, but this isn't going to work. And so I was like, you know what? Like, let's bet on myself. Let's get in this job. Let's get in this opportunity. And the best thing I always tell people is you got to get in the game. You know what I mean? I was willing to get in a game, take a risk, start a new industry. Number one, because I had nothing to lose. I had nothing to lose because I was sleeping on my mom's couch, 22-year-old that just became a freshman in college again, and I was also super broke. It doesn't get much worse than that. I mean, at least I was healthy. But, you know, and then that's how I started figuring everything out. And then I worked my way up, and then I ended up starting, you know, MittGroup in 2020, and we did really good. So it's a journey, but you got to get in a vehicle. You know what I mean? A lot of people, they complain about their lives. They complain about the job that they're in. But even if they're the absolute number one person in their industry or their job or their company, they can only make a certain amount of money. And guys, it's not all about money. It's about, like, for example, let's say that you're like, let's say, Gardy, you're like younger and you're like, man, I'm really thinking about being a doctor. And you go, why I want to be a doctor? Well, I want to make great money and I want to help people. And I go, okay, perfect. And you're like, but Grant, I want to be able to travel whenever I want. I want to be able to work from anywhere in the world. I don't care. Like, it's not even about money. If you become a doctor, you cannot just pick up and, oh, you know what? I got to do open heart surgery tomorrow at 3. I really want to go backpacking Europe and work for you're in the complete wrong profession. So it's not necessarily about money. It's like, okay, if you want to have the freedom to make sure your family has a good life, your kids go to the right schools, you can travel, go to the places, and you need to be in a career that matches that lifestyle. It's not only just money, it's about the vehicle that you're in. So you got to choose the right vehicle so it can give you the best opportunities to have the happiest life. Sometimes you're not unhappy. You're just in a really bad vehicle and you hang around really bad people. And I mean, I wish I could tell you guys that I'm so mentally tough that I can hang around bad people and work for a bad company and still be happy, but I'd be lying to you. I would be miserable. Are you kidding me? So you got to get in a better vehicle and be okay if it doesn't work out because you can leave the job today. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can go work at a different company. You can try something different. I promise it. Like, you know what I mean? And so that's the best thing I could say is you got to bet on yourself and you got to be in the right situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then even if you leave like on a good note, you could always go back if you need to.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, I fell flat. I still have this opportunity to go back and left in a good way.
If you don't burn bridges, you will always have opportunities. If you're always a good person, like if I didn't see Gardy for 5 years and then Gardy called me like 5 years from now, I was like, hey, I'm doing this and this and this, and I had some company do this, I'd be like, heck yeah, you can do the video production for me. Like, where are you at? What city are you in? Yeah, because Gardy's a good guy, right? So it's the same thing in everything. You be a good person, you be a stud, and you become significant, meaning you're not just there. Like, you go on vacation, everyone's like, glad they're gone. No, damn, we need to get that guy back. Like, we're noticing a difference. If you can impact the people around you, make other people around you successful, make them money, all that kind of stuff because they have kids and stuff like that, good things are going to come from it.
So we talked about this a little bit, but what kind of qualities in a person do you look for whenever you're trying to add someone to your team?
Yeah, so I like that. It depends. So if I'm hiring for sales, I like a sales type background. But the biggest thing I've learned, and since I last talked to you, I've grown in my leadership team. We've grown so much on hiring. No matter what company, Apple, Tesla, any of the big dogs, any single company, the hardest thing to do is get the right people in an organization. The hardest thing for the best. The Knicks is still one of the most valued franchises in the world. I think like top 3. And they just now made the playoffs for the first time in like
Years.
a decade almost. And they have all the resources, all the money in the world, and they live in they're in the greatest arena and area in the world. It doesn't matter. The hardest thing to do is get the right people in. So what I learned is all of the fluff, I went to school here, I did this. That's nice and that's good. And it can kind of tell me a little bit about who you are. I know, it can give me a little background of it. But what I've noticed is I want the most humble person ever, right? Crazy humble, meaning for example, our best 2 sales reps that we've had, all right? One of them was working for Pepsi in north of Dallas, right? And he was making like 40, 50 grand a year. And he was actually a personal recruit from one of our managers. It's like, hey, I'm doing really good in solar, blah, 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 blah. This guy, Tyler, came in and was like, if I get this opportunity, I believe in the company, I believe in this, I will break my lease, I will quit my job, and I will move from Wichita to Dallas today and start sending the script. Like, I am ready. He's like, whatever you guys tell me, whatever constructive criticism you guys have for me, perfect. I'm ready. Let's go. The other best sales rep, was someone that actually saw the Business Insider stuff and saw a lot of stuff we're doing in solar, sent me a literal 10-minute long video, personal video on Facebook about why he loves what we're doing in solar and why we should give him an opportunity to work there. And I was like, who the heck is this guy? We sent it to our team. We did the first round interview. They loved him. We hired him. In 2 weeks, this guy did over, I think $250,000 to $300,000 in sales for the company in 2.5 weeks. He and not to mention, he was already making good money. He was like an assistant manager at a furniture place. He was making like 80, 90 grand. The second he put his 2 weeks in, they offered him to run his entire store, bump his salary, bump everything, and make even more money. He goes, nope, I'm good. Still went. That's someone that I would go broke and sleep in a box to make sure that guy makes it.
Yeah.
Because you see what I'm saying? They burn the boats. You know what I mean? If you're trying to take the island, you got to burn the boats. But if you're like, if it doesn't work out, hey, it's no big deal. We still got a boat out there we can escape. Those 2 guys were like, never sold solar before, but I'm about to. Let's go. I don't care if I go broke. I don't care what happens. Let's go. Let's make it happen. And that's what is the most crazy thing that I've seen is those guys, if I'm like, hey, Connor, we need to work on this and this and this and this. He's never been like, but Grant, what about, there's no ego. It's like they want to get better. They're so humble that they're like, whatever I need to do to be successful, let me know. And they were just crazy persistent.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you, they're sharp guys for sure, but I've seen a million sharp guys and they constantly get killed. and they just chase their tail forever and ever and ever and ever and ever because it's always someone's fault but them. If my company has a bad week, it is not anybody's fault other than myself. It is not the market. It is not anything. I didn't put my people in the right position and prepare them because I'm the leader. It's my fault. It's always my fault.
I saw something posted on social media talking about there's all these incentives to get people to work again. You know, some of these, especially like in the service industry and stuff like that. But there was something saying like, hey, that's a reminder how we need to treat our employees that are showing up, like show them that same gratitude, or like that the guy who is leaving, it's like, hey, we'll bump up your pay, give you the store, all these other things that maybe he wouldn't have been looking for another job if they would have like gradually got him there. Yeah,
dude, man, you're hitting the nail on the head. And I think so a simple thing about people and human behavior is people typically are always going to try to do what benefits them in almost every situation. And at first it's something I kind of used to take personal, but now I don't at all because I just realize it's just survival of the fittest. Like people have families, people have, you know, kids and different things they have to take care of. They're going to do what's best for them. So people want to be in a position where, like, for example, there's some jobs, no matter how you work, you're never incentivized to do better. Mm-hmm. And that's where you see, like, for the best case scenario, or excuse me, the best example of this, obviously everyone here has probably been to the DPS. Everyone knows it's a joke of how bad DPS workers are. They're horrible. Like, if y'all, there was a Disney cartoon about it that, like, there was an animal.
The sloths.
The sloth was it. And everyone thought it was so damn funny because it's true. Now, are DPS people just bad people? No. Are they like less smart or just late? No. They have no incentive to perform better.
Or like customer service, just a smile or anything. Yeah, there's not really. It's just,
there's nothing.
It's every day. Yeah.
They make their whatever they make, no matter if they're rude, nice, doesn't matter. Sure, they can probably be pretty nice for a week, and then they just, well, everyone's like this. I don't really care. And it becomes a culture. So the problem that most companies do is they don't incentivize the right behaviors, right? So if, for example, and it doesn't matter, and you go, well, Grant, well, what about people that aren't in sales? Like, how can I incentivize those? Well, it's pretty simple. You got to have KPIs and metrics for everything. KPI is a key performance indicator, which means as a company or a team or a coach, you have to be able to measure every single position in your company or teams on how well that they are performing. And this is not always because some people have back-end operations and they maybe don't have a handle or control on it. But for example, our project managers that manage all our projects, they also, yes, they have a base and a salary. But if I only had that, they would be like pushing rocks to get things done. So instead, we are now incentivizing them for every install that they get in, they actually get paid for, they get a bonus for each one. And if they hit certain metrics and do certain ones in a certain amount of time during a month, they get bonus. So now when they're communicating with our install teams, they're not like, hey, got to install. This one's good. Can y'all look into like what's available? It just doesn't matter. They're like, hey, we got this customer. He needs to get installed. We just talked to him. He's super excited. Can we squeeze this in this week? Can we make this happen this week? And I wish I could tell you, and they're amazing people, but they're going to do that because they make more money that way. They're not in sales. So that's a horrible excuse. You have to incentivize the right behaviors. And you got to pay people what their worth is. You got to make sure that people are getting paid for their value, because what happens is they're happier. People are more happy when they're growing and when they're moving towards something. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you're a socialist or communist or anything. People are happy when they're developing and they're growing and they're going through different challenges and developing as a person. And so you got to have target. It's human nature. And so you got to find a way to incorporate that in every different things. And the same thing like you're talking about, you know, they should have incentivized them to be there in the first place. The same thing goes if, and maybe I may get heat for this and maybe I'm not, and quite frankly, I don't care. If the government continues to incentivize people to not work and they can make the same or almost as much money not working, what will they not do?
Yeah, I have a friend. He was making more money at home, but he was like, I'm bored out of my mind. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I want to go back to work.
I feel it, and God bless them. But a lot of people aren't like that.
Right.
And so they go make, man, they were making, and it's interesting. I had some friends that went out to New Mexico, and it was the first week that COVID opened. This was a while back. And they're eating at these restaurants, and I'm like, man, why is everyone so rude? and New Mexico people are super nice. And what they found out through the waiter is that all of the waiters were making more money being off of work than they were actually working. So they were pissed off. They were rude to customers. They were kind of passive aggressive, and they weren't happy. They weren't bad people. They were just doing natural human instincts to do what benefits them. And so, like, I don't want to get too political, but like Governor Abbott actually is trying to block continuing extra pay for people out. Guys, people do what benefits them. And you thought all of COVID opening up, the unemployment rate was going to drop down. I think it was at 5.9%. It actually in Q1 bumped up to 6.1, even though everyone was so open. And it's because, and you could go, Grant, we need to float a little more. And you might be right, but it's because people are incentivizing them to not work. I promise you, Americans are awesome people. They are hardworking go-getters that are always going to make something happen. That's why America's consistently been the best country in the world, the best economic powerhouse in the world. But people are people, and people are going to do what incentivize them. So we need to incentivize our people, incentivize our country, incentivize our teams and countries to make sure that them working hard and them being successful is not only going to be noticed, but it's going to be rewarded. And the sooner we start doing that, the best example that you're going to get good results and people are going to perform better. Companies are going to be better.
Yeah, in MittGroup, y'all were awarded one of the best places to work.
Absolutely.
And that's because you take that philosophy.
Absolutely. Yeah, and our people voted on that. And it's like if they say horrible things, I wouldn't even know. You know, if they say great things, I still don't even know what they said. I just know we got on it. You know what I mean? So
it's like everybody else really hated their job, and you guys, they like it. So
I guess it worked. But that's what I'm saying is like people want an opportunity to make their lives better and give their kids and family a better situation. So, yeah, absolutely. So it's important. It works. Okay,
here's a comment from Jordan. He said, I couldn't imagine making a resume. 1 year and 5th job title, unemployment. So it's like, yeah, I've been unemployed for the last. That shows up, you know.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has an excuse. So I mean, the people that I feel bad for right now is, you know, they just got out of college and they're ready to get a job. And I actually had a lot of friends that are like, Grant, like, I'm motivated. I'm trying to, like, all I want to do is make something happen. Nobody is hiring. Like, what do I do? And I was like, that sucks. That's different. You know, that sucks. Yeah. But the best thing I told those people was like, hey, you have a free pass. Nobody in America is going to go, why weren't you working and laid off? When like nobody's going to say that. You know what I mean? So it was a perfect example to try things new and to do different things. What was interesting is in 2020, I wish I knew the exact statistic, but it was like more companies were created in just 2020, like incorporated, like LLCs filed, than like the last like 5 to 8 years or something. And it's because people like kind of wake up and they're like, man, what am I doing in my life? What if I do this? What if I do that? You know, let's make something happen. And that's what happens. So it's a good reevaluation process, but the economy is going to do good. Inflation's going to be big. So you're going to have to adapt. But I think if you own assets, you own businesses, you own real estate, you own stocks that are good stocks, I think it's going to be super beneficial.
So if somebody wants to follow you, I know you have a podcast. I subscribed.
Yeah.
How can they keep following you in MittGroup?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at Grant Mitt, GrantMitt. Twitter, GrantMitt3. I'm not on Twitter too much. And I'm on TikTok too. I post like minute-long videos on like kind of stuff like I'm talking about, and that's at Grant Mitt too. But Instagram, I would say the best one is. The best thing I can tell people is like, you know, for me, I wish I had a cool mentor. I wish I had someone that gave me the secret sauce, and I never got that person, which probably ended up being the best thing. But I didn't come from money. I didn't come from some secret handbook that I do all this stuff. And like, it is extremely hard to develop what we've done so far. But if like anybody ever wants help, if anybody has a question about something, anything, just message me. I'll be more than happy to help you any way I can, give you the best advice I can, point you in the right direction. But yeah, just reach out to me on there and I'll be more than happy to help.
What about, are you hiring? That was a question that came in.
Yeah, so we are hiring. We're always looking for really good people. We'll probably add another 3 to 4 sales reps in the Houston area. For Austin and Dallas, I don't know if anybody was seeing there. We're looking to add some people there. I'm very slow to hire because I want to make sure it's the right fit, not only for us, but for that exact person that we're interviewing. But absolutely. We actually have job boards available on Indeed. If you guys look up MittGroup, Also, if you guys go to our website, MittGroup.net, there's an email on there, marketing@MittGroup.net. If you just go ahead and send in anything like a resume, maybe a quick introductory email, something like that, we can have our team reach out.
Okay, here's one question. This was asked earlier, and they just reminded me.
Okay.
Karen wants to know, how do the solar panels hold up in hail specifically, or like weather in general?
Yeah.
How do they do?
What was her name again?
Her name's Karen.
Karen. Okay, awesome. So Karen, that was my biggest question before I got into solar. Like I said, my whole family's from oil and gas, so what's interesting is solar panels are actually going to be more durable than a shingle roof. So it actually can handle hail at over 100 miles an hour and wind at over 175. So in actually many instances, I've actually had homeowners who had panels, let's say, on the back side of the roof, and the front side actually got damaged from hail because it had no solar covering it. The back side was protected. But Karen, what you actually do is, so everything's warranted for 25 years, like maintenance, labor, equipment. Everything act of God would go to your insurance company. So what happens is insurance companies are actually giving people a discount because it helps protect the roof. And what happens is, let's say, Karen, let's say we had the panels on the back side of your roof and the front side got damaged. We would actually have, your insurance company would have our installers come out, take off the panels, store them, they'd put a new roof on, and then we'd reinstall. So it would help protect it, but if another portion gets damaged, that's where it'd go to the insurance company.
So if somebody does want to reach out to you for solar, I don't know if y'all do like consulting or just like, hey, ask, what does it cost? How do they reach out?
Yeah, so reach out on our website. So MittGroup.net, reach out on there, and you can actually send in a request to quote. And what we'll do is, like, anybody here that's listening, if you let the sales rep know, we'll cover the first 6 payments for you guys. If you let the sales rep know, but just reach out on the website, and we'll be more than happy to help you out and all that good stuff. But yeah, solar's fantastic. There's a tax credit right now. The government pays for 26% of it. There's no money up front. Payments cheaper than your utility bills. So it's a really cool thing. The biggest determining factor is every home is different. So it really just depends. Does it work in your area as far as like utility company buying it back? And do you get enough sunlight? Do you have a good structured roof? So that's the biggest thing that our sales reps come out to do. We're really coming out there to see if you can even get it. If you can, you save a lot of money. It's fantastic. It's just really seeing that one thing.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think that's it, man. I appreciate you having me on the show. It's always fun. I got nothing but love for Galveston County and Houston. Amazing people. Like I said, I went to Dickinson High School. And so Dickinson, Lamar, all these different areas, some of the best people ever. Just great people, hardworking, amazing people. So shout out to Dickinson Gators, and then shout out to Houston and all my family and everything. And thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
It's KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM.